Today we're going to make glühwein. Glühwein is mulled wine, and the recipe I've got is a really old German recipe, and it's absolutely lovely. It's not like the mulled wine that you'll buy in the shops in the bottles, because this has as its main sweetener orange juice, but it is incredibly delicious. It's so warming and gemütlich, cozy, and just one of my favourite Christmas drinks to make. And usually I make a big old pot of it and I get loads of friends around and we drink glühwein and do Christmassy things, and that's what we're going to make today. We're going to make it on the stove. This is the first time that we've made it on the stove, so fingers crossed it works. Big blue pot on stove. Decent amount of heat coming from the stove. Now you're not cooking the wine. It's important to know that you're just heating it up, and you're heating it with spices. If you cook it for too long, then you lose a lot of the alcohol content, but also it can taste a little bit burnt if it's left for too long. Now, the trick with a really good glühwein is to get a decent wine. A lot of people, when they make their own glühwein at home, they buy a cheap wine because they think, oh, I'm going to heat it up, it's alright, it's just whatever cheap wine I can chuck in there. I'm not saying get a vintage wine, I'm saying get a wine that you like, a nice red wine that you like. Because if you're using a cheap and nasty wine, you're going to get a cheap and nasty glühwein, frankly. Martin's giggling behind the camera. So I got this bottle of Merlot, and I was really pleased with this bottle of Merlot because I got it from Marks and Spencer's, which is a bit posh, I know, but got it in the dine for £10, 2 dining for £10 offer. And one of those 2 dining for £10 offers lasts me and Martin about 3 days of food, and you get a free bottle of wine. And I thought that was pretty cool. So this whole bottle of glühwein probably has cost about £1.30 to make, because we got the wine for free. Oh, we're so cheap. But anyway, it's a really nice bottle of Merlot, and I know it's nice because I've had it before. Oh God. I really do wish this was smell-o-vision. I know everybody says that when they're cooking, but it's really nice. So you put the wine in first. Big full bottle. It is so simple, this recipe. Then put your orange juice. You don't have to use a whole litre of orange juice. It's entirely up to you. It's as much as how you want to stretch out the wine, but also how you want to sweeten the wine. I tend to kind of put in half and then go along and see how it goes, see how it's tasting. So if you have a look at it, you can see that it's not like the glühwein that you get in the shops, because it's slightly cloudy, and that's because of the orange juice, obviously. The orange juice that I used is just plain old orange juice. You don't have to use freshly pressed orange juice or any posh orange juice, just any orange juice from concentrate. Make sure your wine is decent, but your orange juice is okay to be just, you know, everyday breakfast orange juice, really, from concentrate. Oh God, already that's tasting gorgeous. At this point it tastes a little bit like a sangria. But then as it heats up and you add the spices, you add a little bit of extra sugar, and you add the orange slices, then you start to get the glühweiny goodness. It's the simplest recipe in the whole wide world, to be honest. I'm going to add a little bit more orange. Okay, onto my ladle. So, then what do you add? You add a little bit of sugar. add your sugar as you go along to taste, because if it's too sweet, I don't know. I mean, some people like really sweet glühwein. I don't. I like a wine that's kind of warming, but is just, you know, I don't know. It's just like a winter night, and not too sweet and sickly. A little bit of sugar. You know, add any kind of sugar that you've got in the house. It could be brown sugar, it could be white sugar, it could be caster sugar. Whatever sort of sugar you want to add to your glühwein, add to your glühwein. I'm adding 2 spoons. They're not even full, they're not even heaped. Got a lot of sugar already from the orange juice. Then we add the spices. Cinnamon. Cinnamon is probably the most important spice for glühwein, and probably my favourite spice in the whole wide world. If you get your cinnamon from international supermarkets, it is a fraction of the cost of buying them from the big supermarkets. This was about £1, I think. In German, it's called Zimt, and I apologise for my accent. So I just basically take a piece of cinnamon, good old stick or half stick, and just chuck it in there. Let that be. Cloves. One of the second most important spices for glühwein, and you have to be really careful with the cloves. There's a lot of ways that you can add spices to glühwein. You can do a little muslin bag and put all your spices in there and stick them in there, and that's perfectly okay. You can add them separately, like I'm adding them. So with cloves, these are amazing little things, cloves. I do love them. These are a numbing agent as well. Used to be originally used for dentistry, and if you bite on a clove, it will numb your mouth if you get toothache. Anyway, so with these cloves, what we're going to do is we're going to stab a piece of orange. So when I cut up my orange, I cut it up into chunks like this, little quarters like this, some nice big decorative slices, and a couple of really fat chunks. The fat chunks do nothing really, apart from they add a little bit of orangey goodness, but they really just act as a carrier for the cloves. So for a big fat pot like this, I'd probably only have about 4 cloves. Make sure that they've got a good spike on them so you can stab the orange. This bit's going to be fun. So just stab it in there. Do it over the pot. So that's 2 in that one. Happy smiley face. It's like he's winking. And then 2 in this one. You don't have to do it like this, but I find that it then doesn't give you any clovey surprises later on. Sometimes the cloves fight back. I'm going to get a different one. That's one, let me get another one. And you just pop that in there. And if you have a look in, you can see how sort of beautifully Christmassy it's looking. It does look a little bit kind of muddy puddle, but it's just so tasty. And then this spice. This is one of my favourite spices. I know that I talk about cinnamon as being one of my favourite spices, and it really is. I can put cinnamon in almost anything. But the other spice that I can put in almost anything is nutmeg. This little tin is so battered and bruised and old now. And this was my grandmother's tin, and I inherited it many years ago. Actually, probably about 20 years ago. So there's the nutmegs. The other spice I sometimes add to glühwein is mace, and mace is the outer shell of nutmeg. It's a little bit more peppery, little bit sweeter than nutmeg. It's a very, very different flavour, but also with a hint of nutmegginess to it. But I didn't have any mace this time in my spice cupboard, but I do have nutmeg. So this is what it looks like on the inside. I'm going to start a new one, actually. You can see that I'm a bugger for starting new ones. And this is my little nutmeg grater. Like that. So that goes in there. Like that. When you want to clean it, that's how it comes out. You just get your nutmeg. You can use powdered nutmeg, already ground nutmeg. It's not as flavoursome, it's not as pungent, and it's certainly not as fresh. Oh my god! But it's also good. It's you know, it's nutmeg. So the nice thing about this being circular, rather than those other kind of nutmeggy gratey things, is you get a really good kind of, you know, you go in a circle around the nutmeg grater. It's really nice. But if you can get a circular one, get one. And then you bash it. Now some people at this point would put all the spices into a little muslin bag, as I said earlier, but I just like chucking them in there, to be honest. Say that's about half a teaspoon. As you can probably tell, I'm not one of these people that measures lots of things when it comes to recipes. It just basically goes in. Ooh! The fan just blew the nutmeg everywhere. Okay, the hazards of cooking next to one of these fans. Okay, just that knot just looks so amazing, so gorgeous. And it smells divine. Actually, divine. Did I say how divine? So then, you see this is just, you know, it's just gently doing its little thing, its little glue viney thing. Oh my god, it smells so Christmassy. All you need to do is put cinnamon and nutmeg in something and it smells like Christmas, and cloves. Big slices for decoration. And also at the very, very end of the pot you can just nom them, and it's just full of glue vine. It's amazing. Half slices for partly decoration, but also they can fit in someone's glass as well. Quarter slices to make sure everyone's got a little bit of orange. You can use apple as well. Sometimes I put apple in there, sometimes I put pear. I don't tend to put any other different kinds of fruit. It's not, you know, it's not Pimm's. And then the last little dregs of the orange juice. That's probably not very TV chef, was it really? But anyway, give it a stir. Get your boat involved. Open up your stove to make sure you've got a bit of heat in there. Carefully. Oh yes. That'll be fine. Like I say, you're not boiling this, you're just warming it through. Top your lid on. Let spices do their spicy thing. Come back in about, I don't know, I mean, the longer you leave it, the more spicy it becomes, the more infused it becomes. It also gets thicker because of the sugars in the juice and in the glühwein. So I would say come back in about 10 minutes. Come back in 10 minutes and it will be lovely and drinkable. Come back in 20 minutes and it will be Christmas in a cup. But yeah, but that's it. I'm going to just taste it before I leave it properly. I'm going to put a bit more sugar. And that's a full spoon this time. And don't worry, I've cleaned the spoon. And that's it. Try it one more time. Oh my god. Oh, you won't like this, Martin. Oh no, you won't like this at all. Oh. Glühwein. Fröhliche Weihnachten.